Hello. Um, okay, so this one is going to be about exercise. So I guess the first thing I should say is, the disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I have no medical experience, never took a medical class. Anything I say is going to be my experiences with exercise and, what I've read. So some of the things I say, I not 100%, you know, sure they're accurate. I guess, as they always say, consult with your doctor before start exercising. But a couple of reasons I decided to do this week. I was going to do something different if I did it last week, but right now I'm just about a year from when I first started exercising. And for me, it was running. I had exercised in the past, never really more than a few months. Um, I'd used, workout videos. I don't have room in my apartment for a treadmill, but I had steppers. Unfortunately, the metal ones would always break on me. Either the wire that held the steps together would snap, or the bolt would break. I got this air one, but you don't seem to get the same workout out of it. I had tried running once or twice before. I remember I hurt myself once doing it. I mean, nothing serious, but and that kind of stopped me. Uh, but this time I used the C25K program, and I didn't use it exactly. I spent a lot of time on the first 2, maybe 3 weeks. Uh, you know, I found it very difficult to. Anytime I had to run, it eases you into it, but running for a minute and a half, for me at the time, just you know, had me out of breath. So I spent a lot of time on the earlier weeks, although sometimes I would do back to back so I'd get more exercise in. And I would use it in conjunction with a few other things. I have a few apps on the phone. There's the Map My Run app, which, which there's both a free and a paid version. The free is fine for me. It just uses the GPS, tells you how long you ran, you know, how far you ran, gives you your time per mile. I think that's a great way to keep track of it. Uh, and I decided I was trying to lose weight, so they also had one of the Fitbit bands. I don't know if this is the best one out there. I always had trouble syncing it to the phone, but when I did, I would use that in conjunction with I had it synced with it's MyFitnessPal, a calorie counter app, basically. So I would set the goal for what I want, how much I wanted to lose, and I had read I should be losing about 1.5 pounds a week at my size. So of course I set it for 2 pounds. I would lose. I would so I would count the calories as best as I could and be around. Most days I'd be around where it was, but because when I worked, I would then go running after work at night. So that would change the amount of calories I needed. So I really lost weight probably faster than I should have. I have the weight here. Last January I I have the Wii Fit, and basically for me, basically just a scale now. But at the end of January last year, I was 186 and a half pounds, which is the heaviest I have ever been, or at least I weighed myself at. Uh, by the end of July, this time last year, which is around when I started running, I had dropped down to 170.9. I really hadn't done much. I exercised once or twice. That's it. Maybe I watched what I was eating because my sister had gotten married in June, but I was still overweight. As someone once described me, yeah, he wasn't fat, but he had a bit of a belly. But between the end of July and the end of November, went from 170.9 to 136.2. So I ended up losing like 50 pounds over the course of a year. And last time I weighed myself, I was around 130. You know, and for me, I find I try and find a motivation to keep myself going. Well, I guess first let me get into they say some of the benefits of exercising, and a lot of this is with aerobic exercising. I'm not that there's wrong with lifting weights, but as an expression, if it's good for the heart, it's good for the brain. The aerobic exercising, they say it pumps oxygen to the brain, which can help you, regrow brain cells, and it increase the size of the hippocampus, which helps with the memory and learning. Uh, but dealing with the anxiety depression side, you hear, the runner's high. I don't know if I would say I've ever experienced that, but they say it releases endorphins in your brain. So if you keep up with it, it should help you feel better. It also lowers cortisol, which is considered the stress hormone. Uh, so these are things for anyone with anxiety or depression that that could help you at least start on the road to feeling better. And you know, the better shape you're in, the better you're gonna feel. I said, as I got in better shape, I realized I had more energy. Just that alone makes you feel better. And if you are someone who's overweight and you lose the weight, you're gonna feel better about yourself. Uh, it's tough when you're depressed. It's almost like a catch-22. Exercising will help, but when you're depressed, it's one of the last things you want to do. Uh, but if you can get out there, slowly, I mean, I've always heard, a half hour a day. But I've read stuff, even as little as 10 minutes a day can help. Uh, you know, and something I read the other day, a motivational quote, which I'm not always crazy about that, but it kind of fit me as someone who's a bit of a procrastinator. You know, I guess this works for a lot of things, but it was about exercising at the time, and it said, basically you'll never find time to do anything. You have to make time to do stuff. Uh, I guess, and I think that's a nice way of looking at it. You know, if you want to exercise and you don't have time, you got to make time one way or another. You know, uh, and so like I said, so once I started exercising, I I, I started to feel better. I ran a couple of races, a couple of 5Ks, which is, you know, about 3 miles at 3.1. Actually turned out I was decent at it. And trying to, build up the time for that, you know, was a certain motivation. But after the last one last year, I had done one on Thanksgiving and then one in early December. Uh, Before the second one, my leg was a little sore, and the race was a very hilly run. Run's probably a better word than race because not everyone in it is really racing. It's just about getting through it. And then that day, my leg was just killing me, so I put off running again for a week. I went back, my leg felt better, but when I ran, it started hurting again. I kept putting it off. The next, then January came around and it was cold. I went out once in early January, and it's not that I mind being out in the cold, but when you're running, breathing in the cold air is hard, and I just kept finding excuses not to do it. Um, then it snowed, and it felt like it snowed nonstop here in New York for, you know, like 2 months. Obviously, I could have went to a gym and used a treadmill, but I didn't. So when the end of January came around, not January, when April came around, I got in this. I'm on an email list for certain races and stuff, and one of the things was, can you run 100 miles in a month? And I kind of used that as motivation to get myself back into running because knowing the effect it had on me, it's something I wanted to keep up with. So I used that to get myself started. I found a couple of other races. One was an obstacle course race. One was a superhero themed run. I remember they used the slogan, capes encouraged but not required. They would they actually gave you a free cape when you went. If you see this, it's on the back. It's the Super Run, which is what it was called. So I've kind of used those things as motivation. And I also, early in the year, someone pointed out here in Suffolk County on Long Island, it's having the first annual Suffolk County Marathon, uh, which I'm not going to do a marathon. Someone said something about a 5 or 10K. I didn't see anything, but there's a half marathon, so I figured at the time, well, let me give it a shot. I got a lot of time to train for it. But as time went on, I was going on and off with the running. I had a vacation coming up, and there was stuff to do before that, so I didn't go. Then I was on vacation, and while there was a lot of walking on vacation, there wasn't any running. I then smashed my toe at the end of the vacation, so I wanted to give that a few days to heal. And then all of a sudden I looked, and for some reason I thought the half marathon was in October, and I realized it's uh, mid September. I'm like, oh man, now I got a month and a half. So I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure I'll even be able to get through it, having not really run much more than 3 miles, and now we're talking 13. But one of the other reasons why I decided to make this video now is by putting it out there that um, I've signed up for half marathon. Hopefully that's even more motivation for me to go to go running. I had the day off today. Usually, like I said, usually go running at night. But on my days off, I tend to find it hard to get out to go. When I'm working, I get home and I just quickly change into what I want to run. Run in, the sun's down, so it's cooler. There aren't many cars on the road. I actually find it easier. Uh, but I had a therapy appointment today, so I decided to run there. I use the word run loosely. It was more walking and light jogging, but I'm just trying to build up some endurance. Uh, and it doesn't have to be running. It can be for you whatever works for you. If you can find a more fun way to do it, playing some sport, or whether it's you're out with friends playing football or baseball or soccer or something, or you go swimming, or take some kind of class, kickboxing, boxing, just something that gets the heart rate up, I think helps. uh, you know and for me, and what makes you feel good also is I have got through the races. I got a bunch of different medals. Yeah, not that I like to brag, but and some of them are just almost like participation medals. I looked at it as, although a couple of them I actually earned for finishing, second or third in my age group. Uh, Back the last one I ran, I finished third in my age group. I finished, I think it was 18th out of like 180 people. So finishing in the top 10%, and it's a lot of casual people, a lot of casual runners, but it made me feel good. I was saying, as for participation medals, one of them actually, it just says it, finisher, and I think, trying to be more positive, I think that's a better way of looking at it. That I got through it. Anything you accomplish, I think most of us people with social anxiety were very hard on ourselves. So if you could look at it as I did it, as opposed to, oh, they just gave me a medal because I showed up, you know. Um, Now, of course, in doing this, you also want to work in, a healthy diet. This is something I'm not great at. I've never been a really healthy eater, but I'll just a few things that I've done. I think for me, a lot of it was substitutions, going for, maybe grilled chicken instead of fried chicken, or turkey instead of ham. Uh, you know, Whole wheat bread instead of regular bread, stuff like that. Egg whites instead of whole eggs. And I've heard mixed things on whether the whole egg is good for you or not. A lot of times I would, you know, maybe make an egg sandwich and use one whole egg and two egg whites. I've never been good with the fruits and vegetables, especially the vegetables. I've been so what I've done recently. I don't do it all the time, but I've been using the juices or drinks to get in some more of the vegetables. I remember I found, I don't want to support any specific company, but one of them, Daily Greens, and it says it's, where was it? I forgot what it said, but I think it's yeah, 4.5 servings of veggies in a bottle. I thought, oh, that's great. That's an easy way to get in veggies. It sucked. And there was another one, you know, which is a kale blazer, they call it. It's, I guess, a lot of kale with some other stuff in, and it didn't suck, but it wasn't great. Apparently kale is now one of the new superfoods, where for years it was all it was like a garnish. But what I do is I take the two of them and I mix it with the, another one. For some reason I have to mix the same colors. And it's got some veggies in it, but it's more fruit juices. And it makes the other ones, when you mix it all together, it makes it more palatable. I also have, like a citrusy fruit drink, which I'll mix with a carrot drink, stuff like that. So at least getting in some of my vegetables. And I believe all this has helped me feel better. I believe it started me on the road to feeling better about myself and doing stuff I wouldn't have done otherwise. And there are a lot of other factors which have helped me get to the point where I am now. Like I said, a year ago, I couldn't imagine making this video. Uh, but I believe getting in shape put me in the mindset where I could do other things that would get me to a certain point, which helps you get to the next point, and so forth and so on. To get me where I am today, which, as I've said in the past, is not where I want to be, but it's a huge leap from where I was a year ago. I'm sure there's something I forgot, but I've went on for a long time. So one other thing I wanted to mention was shoes. I've tried to. My legs and knees weren't the greatest, as I have a job where I'm on my feet all day. For me, I remember I even tried one that had springs in it, but they were just very heavy and they weren't very breathable. I guess they were tight, but I don't want to support any specific brand, but these have these like bumps on the bottom, and when you're running on the road, I feel it cushions the impact, and I very rarely feel any issues with my knees anymore, which was something I was worried about with running. I guess as you build up the leg muscles, it's something else. It takes pressure off the knees. All right, I guess that's all for now. So thanks for listening and goodbye.